Somebody said about a kid, though.
Somebody did say somebody said.
No, she said very clearly, she's talking about the wife. She's not talking about the children.
No, she said child. She said child.
She said child.
She said child.
She said Martell
need
need a DNA test.
Martell need to go get a test.
That's what I didn't hear.
Why are you talking about it then?
If you want to mention somebody other than who you talking to,
watch out,
I think I'm talking about what I want to say. Hey, man, get your hand down. Hand down. Get your hand down. Chill.
Fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville thought they had already seen the peak of the drama. They believed they understood the complicated relationships between Destiny Payton, Martell Holt, and the Scott family. But no one was prepared for Marsau Scott to step in and completely change the story. This time, it's not just rumors or opinions. It's backed by receipts. And the way everything is coming out is making people question not only what they've heard before, but also what may have been kept hidden. What makes this situation even more intense is how calm everything seemed before things took a turn. On the surface, it looked like everyone had found their place. Destiny was focused on rebuilding her life and moving forward after everything she went through. Martell was still dealing with his complicated public image, and Mars stayed mostly quiet, focused on his own path, watching everything without getting involved too quickly.
I heard it was a rumor and I don't need no admissions. All right? I'm just really talking about just making sure you're good.
Yeah.
And if you need anything, I'm there.
I appreciate that.
All right.
But everything's good, though.
All right, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Hold up. If Martell and Melody are so good, then why is Melody bringing this up at dinner like it still bothers her?
Hello?
Momo.
What's up, Solo?
So me and Tell, we out here a lot. I had some concerns from the other night when we talked at dinner.
Okay.
You know, Mel brought up the whole stuff and it got a little uncomfortable. I just want to make sure that he was all good for everything we got going on. Because when we're talking about getting this whole thing together, getting this whole initiative together, you know, we need everybody's gang faith.
That's always a concern.
Martell said it happened over a year ago and he's back to being perfect, so that's a good thing. I think he's good. He ain't gonna be on no more of that.
Probably should meet up, man. Instead of just conversing over the phone, because I'd like to see exactly how things stick out.
All right, Phil.
But here's where things take a different turn. Sometimes it's the quiet ones who notice everything. And when they finally choose to speak, it doesn't come across as drama. It feels more like truth. And right now, that truth is making a lot of people uneasy. Even before everything blew up, Destiny's journey had already been full of highs and lows. She entered the spotlight as someone many viewers could relate to, a woman trying to rebuild her life after a broken marriage. There was a softness and vulnerability about her that pulled people in. She wasn't loud or overly dramatic. Instead, she appeared reserved, careful, and focused on protecting her peace. But despite that, questions were always there in the background. Her connection with Martell never fully added up for many viewers. It didn't feel like a simple friendship, at least not the way it came across on screen. There was a certain closeness, a level of understanding and loyalty that seemed deeper than what they openly admitted. And whenever those questions came up, Destiny would shut them down. She kept things unclear, avoided giving straight answers, and often redirected the conversation. At first, people respected her privacy, but over time, it started to feel like there was more to the story that wasn't being shared.
Also did an interview out here saying, I'm like, why would this dude even fix his mouth to say something about my charge? So what's the problem with you then?
Every time he opens his mouth to say something about Marceau, he gonna be talking about Martell.
I never say
I'm
about
gonna tell about what Marceau knows about Martell. I'm telling you right now, I don't have no respect for you.
Okay, it's like dude code, and it's like we together. I'm not saying nothing about it.
Oh, we've never messed with her together.
Where the pictures at, Martell? Let me see.
Cheers to my boy. Go ahead and say your shit.
Keep going, big fella. Keep going, big fella.
I'm done. I'm done. Okay, hold up.
At the same time, Martell's past already had fans questioning him. His history in relationships, the way he handled situations, and his behavior over time made it difficult for many people to fully trust him. So when Destiny continued to stand by his side, defending him, supporting him, and staying loyal no matter what, it made people wonder, why him? Why show that level of loyalty? And more importantly, what did she know that others didn't? Mars, on the other hand, had always been in the background of everything. He wasn't the loudest or most outspoken, but he was always there, watching, listening, and noticing things others might have overlooked. For a long time, he stayed quiet, but now that silence is starting to make more sense. Sometimes people don't speak up because they have nothing to say, but because they're waiting for the right time. And when that moment finally comes, it can change everything. This shift didn't happen all at once. It built up slowly over time. Small details began to stand out. Certain conversations didn't quite make sense. Some reactions felt off, and the energy between people reached a point where it could no longer be ignored or explained away.
That's what I need after a long day.
No kids, just peace and quiet, a little bit of adult time, a
Well,
little
no, I
bit of
still
work.
gotta coordinate a lot of stuff. I've gotta make phone calls all day today, all day tomorrow.
There was already a lot going on behind the scenes, with constant calls, planning, and things being handled quietly in the background. Then Mars stepped in, but not in a loud or dramatic way. He didn't come in trying to create chaos or grab attention. Instead, he spoke with purpose. His approach was calm, controlled, and thoughtful, but still direct enough to make people pause and really listen. And then he brought receipts, not rumors or guesses, but actual details that started to show a very different side of what had been happening behind the scenes. According to what Mars shared, Martell's public image wasn't just something that happened naturally, it was carefully managed and protected. And as he continued to speak, it became clear that this wasn't something Martell handled alone. That's when Destiny's name began to come up in a new light, not just as someone on the outside, but as someone who may have known more than she ever admitted.
This whole situation is foul. There's no way to paint it any other way. There's no way to make it something else. It's just foul. And the part that I don't like the most is that you try to drag my name in the gutter with where y'all.
That's the point where everything started to feel uncomfortable. Up until then, Destiny had always been viewed as someone who stayed away from the chaos. But the way Mars spoke hinted at something deeper, something more involved. And suddenly, the focus wasn't only on Martell anymore. People started questioning Destiny, too. Mars didn't need to say everything directly. His tone, his pauses, and the way he carefully chose his words said more than enough. It suggested there was a pattern, a connection, and a level of awareness that didn't feel like coincidence. He hinted that some situations were not as simple as they seemed, that certain stories may have been shaped, and that some truths were kept quiet on purpose. When he pointed to specific moments, times where actions didn't match words, it started helping viewers connect dots they had been unsure about before. Fans began going back, watching old episodes again, paying closer attention to conversations and body language, and what they noticed only added to the confusion. Moments that once seemed normal now felt meaningful. The way Destiny looked at Martell, how strongly she defended him even when it seemed questionable, and how certain topics were avoided, it all started to feel intentional instead of random. But things went even deeper than that. Mars didn't just point out actions, he pointed out patterns. He spoke about how some people use relationships as protection, how alliances are sometimes built not just on friendship, but on need, and how protecting someone else can sometimes mean protecting yourself, too. That idea changed how people saw everything, because if Destiny was protecting Martell, then it raised a bigger question. What was she protecting herself from? That question spread quickly. Social media became very active, with fans sharing opinions and debating nonstop. Some people defended Destiny, saying she was just caught in the middle. Others believed she knew more than she let on. And her response didn't help calm things down. She stayed quiet. No clear denial, no detailed explanation, just simple posts about peace, growth, and moving forward. But in moments like this, silence doesn't reduce the noise. It actually makes it louder. When serious questions are being asked, people expect answers. And when those answers don't come, people start creating their own. At the same time, Martell's reaction didn't help the situation either. Instead of addressing things directly, he responded emotionally. He questioned people's intentions, shifted the focus, and tried to change the narrative. But this time, it didn't have the same effect, because now it wasn't just one person's word against another's. Mars had already brought something stronger into the conversation: credibility. Mars wasn't known for drama or attention-seeking behavior. He didn't have a history of creating problems just for the spotlight. So when he spoke, people paid attention, and more importantly, they believed him. As everything continued to unfold, the emotional weight of the situation became clear. This wasn't just reality TV drama anymore. It was about trust, about blurred lines in relationships, about how loyalty can turn into silence, and how silence can turn into something more serious. For Destiny, this moment feels like a major turning point. Everything she built, her image, her reputation, how fans saw her, is now being questioned. And that kind of pressure goes deeper than what people see on the surface. When people begin to doubt your truth, it forces you to face things you may not be ready to deal with. For Martell, it adds another layer to an already complicated story. Each new detail makes it harder to separate what is real from what is being presented, and what is intention versus excuse. And for Mars, this moment changed how people see him. He is no longer just someone in the background. Now he is someone who spoke up when it mattered, someone who chose honesty over comfort, someone willing to say what others avoided. But speaking up like that comes with its own consequences. It can change relationships, shift friendships, break alliances, and create new tension. And that's where everything stands right now. Uncertain, uncomfortable, but very real. As the situation continues, one thing is becoming clear. This story is not just about what was said, it's about what wasn't said. It's about the moments when people chose silence instead of honesty. It's about decisions made behind closed doors that are now coming into the open.